I don't know if you've ever woken up at 3 in the morning because your HOA president brought a bulldozer to your house. I wouldn't recommend it. And if you're wondering what that's like, well, imagine your worst nightmare, but with more diesel fumes and a lot more paperwork. That's how my week started. I mean, let's be honest, you never really think you'll end up in your bathrobe yelling at a grown woman in a pink business suit as she tries to flatten your fence. And for what? Because the stain I used wasn't approved. Yeah, that's what she said. You ever notice how the folks enforcing the dumbest rules always have the meanest smiles? Anyway, the night it happened, it started with a noise, a low growl, one of those sounds that makes your teeth buzz and your stomach flip at the same time. It was too early for anything except trouble. I shot up wide awake. That army training never really leaves you, you know? My wife Sarah rolled over and muttered, "Garbage truck?" Half asleep, clueless, but hopeful. "Garbage day's Thursday," I said, pulling on jeans. "And they don't use bulldozers." I moved to the window, pulled back the curtain just enough to peek out. And bam, there she was. Karen, pink suit, arms crossed, lips curled into a smirk that could curdle milk. The headlights of a massive, sickly green bulldozer lit her up like she was on stage. Two guys built like discount bouncers stood on either side. Green Valley Homeowners Association stitched across their cheap jackets. Give me a break. My blood went cold, then hot all at once. That cedar fence, my summer project, my pride, 10 years of weekends, dog-proof for Max and Cooper, stood between them and my house. Or, I guess, didn't stand for long. Karen looked up, spotted me, and her smirk got wider. She gave the bulldozer driver a nod, like a mob boss in some bad movie. The engine roared, metal screeched, and my fence exploded in a shower of splinters. You ever feel so angry you forget how to talk for a second? That was me. Down the stairs, phone in hand. Sarah following, terrified. Max and Cooper losing their minds behind us, barking like crazy. I threw open the front door and just started yelling, half hoping the universe would step in. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Get that thing off my lawn." Karen just laughed, this cold, sharp sound. "Official enforcement, Mr. Martin," she called, sweet as battery acid. "You got a notice about the unapproved fence stain. You failed to comply. This is the consequence." A notice? What notice? There'd been nothing. But apparently, 3 a.m. was consequence o'clock. By now, the bulldozer had eaten half the fence. Dogs were frantic. Sarah looked ready to faint. I punched 911, explained the situation, begged for help. The dispatcher? She sounded about as interested as a DMV worker at 4:55 on Friday. "Is this about a homeowners association dispute, sir?" Like she was asking if I wanted fries with that. "Yes, but they're on my land." I practically shouted, "They're destroying my property." She sighed. "We can't get involved in HOA matters. That's civil. Take it up with them." She hung up. I swear, the click was the loneliest sound I've ever heard. Just me, my family, and a lunatic in a pantsuit flattening my fence while the law shrugged and went back to sleep. You ever feel totally powerless? Helpless? I did, for about 60 seconds. Then I heard a new sound, a high-pitched whine, coming from the garage. And I remembered this wasn't just my fight. To get what happened next, you've got to know me and my son Alex. I'm John Martin, former Army Master Sergeant, tank commander for 20 years. I wanted peace, which is why we moved to Green Valley. Bought a nice house. Settled in. Figured the biggest threat around here would be a raccoon in the trash can. And Alex, he's 14, but the kid's some kind of mechanical prodigy. Builds things for fun. Took apart the lawnmower, put it back together twice as fast. Made a working drone out of spare parts. Me? I miss the old days, the machines, the challenge. One day I found an online auction, spotted a decommissioned M1 Abrams tank. The Army had gutted it. No weapons, nothing dangerous, just a steel shell. Most people saw scrap. I saw a father-son project. Took a small fortune and a lot of begging Sarah to let us park 60 tons of hobby in the garage. 3 years later, we'd rebuilt it. Freedom, we called her. Couldn't fire a shot, but she ran. She moved. She made noise like thunder. We finished the restoration a week before all this. Never thought we'd use her. Never even imagined. Anyway, back to that night. Karen had pushed the wrong family, because while she was busy tearing down my fence, Alex was firing up Freedom. That turbine engine? It screams like a banshee. The garage door rattled. The bulldozer lights swung around. The whole neighborhood must have been awake by now. I watched from the porch as Freedom rolled out, all 60 tons of cold steel and restoration sweat. Headlights blazing, treads chewing up what was left of the yard. The engine roared, drowning out everything else. Even Karen's confidence. Alex's voice crackled over the tank's loudspeaker, calm and steady. "You're on private property. You have 10 seconds to leave." He started counting down. 10, 9, 8. I wish I could bottle what happened next. Those big, tough security guys dropped their tools and ran. The bulldozer driver was right behind them, nearly tripping over his own boots to escape. Karen froze, spotlit like a deer, before finally squeaking and scrambling to her car, peeling off down the street, honking the horn like it was going to summon backup. And then silence, except for the dogs, who were still making sure everyone in a 5-block radius knew something had happened. I exhaled, shaky, and turned to Sarah, who was clutching my arm so tight her knuckles were white. "Did Alex just do that?" she whispered. "Yeah, honey, he did." Alex popped the tank hatch, looking proud, a little sheepish, and a lot like the hero of his own action movie. "Threat neutralized, Dad." I swear, part of me wanted to ground him for life. The other part wanted to salute. My neighbor Fred poked his head over the fence, well, what was left of it, clutching a garden gnome for dear life. "Everything okay?" he asked, in his pajamas, voice wobbling. I glanced at the tank, the wreckage, the insanity, and couldn't help but laugh. "Just a disagreement with the HOA, Fred. All under control now." But it wasn't, not really. Karen wasn't the type to take humiliation well. Even as she drove off, she leaned out the window, screaming that I'd be in jail by sunrise. That night, my home was safe, but I knew this was just round one. By sunrise, news of the tank versus bulldozer standoff was everywhere. Some neighbor across the street had filmed the whole thing. Social media lit up like the 4th of July. Local man stops HOA with tank and all that. Reporters showed up. News vans blocked the cul-de-sac. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Police finally rolled up around 8 a.m., blinking at the tank like it might explode if they sneezed wrong. 2 officers, Miller and Chun, approached cautiously, asking for my version of the story. I laid it all out. Karen, the bulldozer, the fake enforcement order, the non-existent notice, the 911 call that went nowhere. Before they could process any of it, Karen herself arrived, dragging along a lawyer with more gel in his hair than sense in his head. She pointed at me, practically foaming at the mouth. "That's him. He threatened my workers with a military vehicle." Her lawyer recited a speech about bylaws, city ordinances, illegal vehicles, blah, blah, blah. Officer Chun just shook her head. "Nobody's getting arrested today, but you," she pointed at me, "do not move that tank. It's staying put until we sort this out." So there it was. Freedom was now a monument/paperweight on my ruined lawn. Karen and her lawyer left, looking smug. My family? We were basically under house arrest, with every news outlet in town parked outside. That's when neighbor Fred knocked, holding cookies and talking like a spy. "I brought provisions and intelligence," he whispered. Turns out, Fred had dirt. Stories about Karen ousting the previous HOA president with lies and manipulation. The guy, Mr. Henderson, had this leather-bound book, the original neighborhood charter. Real rules, real property lines. If I could get that, maybe, just maybe I could stop Karen. Meanwhile, Alex, being Alex, dug into the digital trail. No record of my violation anywhere in the HOA docs. But he did find something else. The company that owned the bulldozer, registered to Karen's husband. Suddenly, the whole scheme clicked. This was about money. Karen made up fake violations, sent her husband's company to do the dirty work, then harassed people until they sold cheap. A land grab, dressed up in HOA rules. We were the first big test. That night, the pressure ratcheted up. Legal threats landed in our mailbox. HOA fines stacked up, and then the bank called. The HOA was trying to freeze our accounts. Sarah started a break. "Is this worth it?" she asked. "We could lose everything." For a second, I almost agreed. But then I looked at her, at our house, at Alex. Running would mean teaching my son to give up to bullies. No, not happening. We needed proof, hard evidence. The charter, the black ledger Fred hinted at. So I made a plan. Used the news crews as cover, staged a distraction with Fred, who, bless him, was more than happy to create a scene about parking violations, and slipped out the back, into the woods, to find Henderson. He was cautious at first, but when I told him what was happening, when I showed how Karen was after us, just like she went after him, something in him changed. He handed over the charter and the ledger, which documented every bribe, every shady deal. It was all there. The smoking gun. As I shook Henderson's hand, my phone buzzed. Alex panicked, yelling, "Dad, she's back." And she brought a tank. I must have looked insane sprinting across town, clutching 2 old books, while my son described a World War II-era Sherman tank. On a tow truck, parked at the end of our street, Karen waving a megaphone like she was conquering Normandy. She'd lost it completely. Back at the house, Karen and her thugs were trying to chain down Freedom to neutralize our advantage. Alex was in the tank, following every emergency protocol we drilled. Fred, good old Fred, tried to defend us with his garden hose, spraying water at a goon's face. It was brave, it was loyal, it was totally ineffective. I called Sergeant Miller, this time the city police direct line. Explained everything. Tanks, chains, kids in danger, plus the evidence of fraud. He didn't argue. Sirens filled the air. News helicopters hovered overhead, their spotlights cutting through the chaos. I burst onto the scene, waving the charter and ledger like twin swords. "It's over, Karen," I shouted. "It's all here, the bribes, the scams, everything." For a second, everything stopped. Karen's face fell. Her goons dropped their chains, hands in the air. The police swarmed in, weapons drawn. Karen slid off her tank throne, empty and defeated, and didn't resist as they cuffed her. And that was it. The fight wasn't won with steel or engines, but with the truth dragged into the light for everyone to see. After that, things moved fast. Karen and her husband, charged with fraud and conspiracy. The whole HOA, dissolved by court order. The news story spread. Apparently, man stops HOA bulldozer with tank gets a lot of clicks. My tank became a local legend. The neighbors? United, stronger than ever. Even Fred was elected vice president of the new HOA. First order of business, a massive block party on my lawn. The DA looked at our case, shrugged, and called our actions justified and reasonable. All the charges? Dropped. The tank? Stayed. No fines, just a lot of curious tourists. Alex even got a college scholarship out of it. And Sarah? One evening, watching our new, reinforced fence go up, she hugged me and said, "Maybe that tank wasn't such a bad idea after all. You know, I always thought peace was something you found. Somewhere quiet, somewhere safe. Turns out, sometimes you have to fight for it. Sometimes the line between home and chaos is just a stubborn man, a brilliant kid, and a 60-ton piece of American steel." So here's my question for you. When is enough enough? How far would you go to protect what's yours? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and going too far? Tell me, if you've ever faced down a bully or beat the odds in your own way, what did you do? Was it worth it? Go ahead, let me know. I'll be right here on my porch, tank in the garage, finally at peace.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.